Now, if there's one thing that COVID has done, it's brought the whole issue of health and wellness to front of mind for everyone. We know our industry is often too slow in picking up on trends, but health and wellness is an important new category that needs to be addressed and simply cannot be ignored. Brian Chappon is CEO of Centered. His is an extraordinary story as a positive disruptor for this industry. Brian, your focus as a business is health and wellness. Now, since COVID, this category, especially in the aviation community, has become of enormous importance. That seems to be reflected in the success of your business. And I understand you now have some 40,000 partners in the space of some 18 months or so, with over 60 million members. That's phenomenal. But can you first explain what your business is and how your business model actually works? I mean, how much of a one-stop shop are you?
Thanks for having me on, Peter. First of all, it's always fun to do this with you. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride of 18 months, that is for sure. I think we've always, even before COVID, have been the guys that really tried to, I hate to use the word disrupt, in the industry of travel, but it really comes down to it more than ever. I think we're trying to raise that flag high to go, guys, you got to think differently. You got to do this differently. No one's been listening to how you put wellness and health in the center of someone's journey when it comes to travel, both within the airport ecosystem and then beyond and back home. So Centered is a brand that's been positioned it was really created for that purpose, to put health and well-being back in the center of your journey. And we do that through different ways and means. When you're asking about, products and services and one-stop shop, of the core value, Centered is to be an efficient app that handles all that in one place, so you don't have 10 apps on your phone. Everything from booking a wellness hotel to a wellness retreat to a product that has a focus. We've handpicked some of our favorite wellness brands around the world, to telehealth 24 hours a day. Our team of clinicians are experts in dealing in all types of triage issues. And so, again, it comes back to the focus of the brand. Yeah, we do a lot of things, but it comes down to it. We are a wellness and health concierge for travel. That's what we are. We're not afraid to say it. A lot of people admit over the last 18 months, when it comes to travel tech or whatever you want to call us, they're going, and not too many companies launching during the pandemic in the travel space, but we're not only proud to do it, we believe we're leading the charge here to disrupt a pretty stale industry that's been going on for too long. So, when it comes to the brands, it's been a phenomenal time, because I think I've said before on your show that people were sitting around a little bored. So we had the opportunity as a team to take advantage of that and get on a Zoom call like we're doing today from all around the world, and talk about and listen to them, what their struggles are, how they're trying to get in front of the right consumer. And Centered being an aggregator, we can do that. But we build things a little differently. A lot of competitors out there, and of course in different areas, from healthcare to fitness to wellness travel and so on, and concierge travel. They all had pieces of this, but what we did is we'd seen over the last 10 years, the technology wasn't too good. They didn't have direct API for user journey. Fitness industry kind of had those issues when it comes to leadership. And I think now more than ever, we look at ourselves as being a leader in the industry, between fitness to crossing over to healthcare and travel.
Now, moving on, you are in airport lounges. I mean, what do you think the aviation community is missing now, whether it's airports, airlines, travel retailers, or even brands, where you can generate incremental income from them through your concierge services? I mean, just how can they grow their businesses?
Yeah, I think that's a two-part double-edged sword question, honestly. And let me just be candid with you. On the first side, let me handle two. Part one of this question really comes down to not listening to the consumer. I don't care how many people on their tablets can go around and interview people and ask them questions at an airport. Seen that, done that, doesn't really mean anything. Listening to consumer is listening to what millennials, Gen Xers, and even baby boomers want when it comes to travel. Because of COVID, anything you learned before, throw it out. It's irrelevant. The way you build your matrix, the way you build your pricing, the way you try to sell retail, duty-free, VAT, no VAT, all these things that have gone on in the world of airports, ecosystems, everything they learned needs to be thrown out. It's not going to work. Partly that's because of the way it's structured in an airport, taking 15, 20% of your top net revenue in a lease. Leasing and brick and mortar was already an issue. Most people that were lucky to go into an airport, they did it, like I say, the Madison Avenue reasons. No one makes money on Madison Avenue. They do it for brand awareness. I think now you don't really have to do that as much. You can get the consumer to know your product and book it beforehand. And we do that. I mean, let's just face it. People can book something. It can go to their home, their Airbnb, or their hotel. So, we're a curation. We're not trying to overwhelm people with too many experiences or brands. We really handpick the type of brands that are in line with our core values, and we're in line with their core values. So I think in regards to answering question one, it really comes down to they need to just throw out the old manual, the old blueprint, and sit at a table like this and go, let's start listening. Listening to smaller companies like us that really understand the consumer. We might be small, but we got some might in us as well. We're not the only ones. I think the other way is our technology. Everybody's trying to create new airport ecosystem technology to attract the consumer. I don't think it's that complicated. I think if you listen to the consumer, what they want and create, you can still throw off a profit within airport retail. Obviously, every airport's going to try to do it through online and try to take some net revenue there. And there's a way you could do that, and everybody can have a slice of the pie. But it needs to come back to the focus of the consumer traveler that's traveling. Their health and well-being need to be first. And it comes to that. Once you do that, people feel there's a trust involved there, I think. And I think airports have, in my opinion, before the pandemic, really people didn't look at them as a place of trust, honestly. Not when it comes to spending. I mean, yes, VAT is great in certain airports, but that's not enough. That's not enough. So that, I don't know if I answered your question clearly.
What of the second part of the question? The second question.
Yeah, what we do is so simple. We don't charge a brand or even a partner to onboard onto our platform. So that's number one, and that's powerful. So we also aren't trying to overwhelm our consumers with too many options, and I think that's important. I think it goes back to, like I said in the first question, about trust. We're earning the trust of our consumers. We're earning the trust of our partners. And we're doing that by telling our brand story and getting them exposure to our 60 plus million users out there. But, for us to go back to how we got 60 million users, this didn't happen overnight. This is a 7-year journey of integrating our APIs and our user journey experience into platforms and aggregators and credit card companies and banks and employee well-being programs. And with that, part two of the question is we easily can integrate quickly into an airport ecosystem. Of course, we have our own health pass that people can use and upgrade. We're HIPAA compliant. But also, I think health pass with either IATA, everybody has a health pass now. That's, big deal. It doesn't really matter. What the key issue is going back to listening to what the consumer wants. And consumers want health and well-being as part of their user journey. We're always preaching at Center, putting health and well-being at the center of your journey. That's when we named our company Center. Not only to become centered when I travel, but also it needs to be part of our journey. And so we can do that so efficiently, and we can give a really great user journey. And that either could be going into an airport lounge and having, and that's a big fight all the time for us of getting the right products and wellness and beauty services and experiences within the airport ecosystem, and then onward. And then we can show airports how to generate ancillary revenue in a way that's ethical and trustworthy. And we do that through handpicking our favorite brands. So everybody can have a piece of the pie when it comes to revenue and so on. But I think, again, it has to go back to question one. It's just we all got to sit at the table and they should start taking my calls.
Okay. So just following up, I mean, where you have been involved with this business community, I mean, what impact has it had? Have you got any research that you can share? Or data?
Well, we got so much data. I mean, the data scares me because we hold so much, but we'll never share our data. We're not in the advertising business. So that's the other thing about us. So that is a major issue when it comes to approaching an airport. Is so many people are in the data industry want to sell that data, want to track that data, want to understand everything. And I understand the importance of data, but what we are not is in the industry of selling data. Never will. We protect our data. One, our credit card companies wouldn't allow us to share that data. Two, we wouldn't anyways, because for us, it's protecting the consumer's privacy. It's protecting their personal, wants and not diswants and so on when it comes to their travel. So, in regards to data, sure. I mean, as the pandemic opened up, we started getting a lot of people coming to us because they didn't know where to travel. We were on a call the other day with another travel magazine. I can't say yet who it is, and they're like, Brian, what we really look at centered is you becoming the brand that brings trust and clarity on where people should travel after the pandemic and during the pandemic. And I absolutely agree with them. I think centered as a brand is to position ourselves to give you the peace of mind that it's safe to travel, but here are places you should go, here are places you shouldn't go. Here's the type of experience you should have. Maybe steer you away. And so our data is really just the bookings we've got. We've the last 60 days, we've had everything from honeymoons to even corporate wellness retreats. Remote working is something that's been massive. People keep asking us all the time. We haven't been together for 2 years as a company. Where can we go from, certain parts around the world? Where is it safe? How do I deal with the health pass situation? How do I deal with vaccination cards? How do I deal with all these things? We do that all in one app. And so I'm proud of my concierge team. You know what it comes down to? There's no technology in the world that's ever going to replace human individual personalization. And I think for us at Center, that's what makes us different. You can build all the tech you want in the world, and we have it, believe me. But our telehealth clinicians, our concierge team, and all of the Center team is all about creating a personalized, trusted experience for our travelers. So if you're asking about data, we've seen enormous amount of bookings over the last 60 days. We believe the holiday season is going to be an important time to travel as the cold weather comes in. That's going to be really interesting, and we're positioning Centered as that peace of mind that, hey, it's okay to travel, but here's what you should and shouldn't do.
So if I just go back, where you have been in, say, an airport, what tangible evidence have you got to show that Centered actually adds value to the total experience that they offer, as well as incremental income to the individual airport?
Two things. I think the airport business before COVID, as you know so well, Peter, has always been in competition with each other. Everybody's trying to get that transit travel. So, I mean, we saw that for the last 7 years from Heathrow to Hong Kong to Singapore, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Doha, all these guys competing with each other. And so what Centered brings is a value add there that sure, you can compete with each other, but at the end of the day, you need to listen to the user journey, what they want. And so I think what's been interesting for us is people's choice of what airport they go to. They're looking to us and going, should I fly through Dubai or should I fly through Atlanta? Or we all have the choice right now. With COVID, like I said earlier in the last answer I just gave you, they're looking at us to go, I really don't know where I should go on my honeymoon. I finally just got to have my wedding after 2 years of postponement or, retirement party or even a work trip. Where can I go? People are leaning on us. So that's powerful data to go, well, you know what? This airport really isn't playing games with us right now. That it's not the safest place either because it's a hotspot for COVID, or it doesn't really provide you the best wellness experience. So why don't you go to the other airport that does? And I don't think loyalty's changed. It changed before COVID, and it's definitely changed. There's, like I said, rewrite everything you used to know about loyalty. Ask the points guy. These guys are out there. It's like it's completely new. So the data I can give you is that our consumers are looking to us to go, I don't really care what airport I fly through. Part of it is price, but more importantly, it's comfort and health and well-being. And then when it comes to data, yeah, we've seen some pretty cool airport partners an airport ecosystem that are starting to think about that. But where I really see it more isn't the actual airport, it's the actual brands within the airport, like some of our buddies at Rituals and other guys, that they're doing a good job of thinking about putting wellness as part, not only as part of their branding, but putting in the action.
Do you think it's really just finally on airports, it's just a question of their mindset, their existing cultures? They're just completely focused on safety aspects and health rather than the broader aspects of what people want for a healthy trip through an airport. Would that be a fair comment?
It's a fair comment. I actually think obviously that's most important. Your health and safety is what's most important when going through your travel journey. And I think people will make decisions based on what you said, that brand, that airport brand of making sure they're putting safety first. I think it's about efficiency. I think some airports have done a great job of testing, others have not. It's an infrastructure nightmare, right? Dealing with all that logistically. So I think the airports have done a pretty good job considering we've been in a pretty stressful circumstance. I think but it needs to go a step further. And I remember sitting in a meeting with a guy that's heavily influential in the travel business, and he didn't even know what wellness meant. He had to go ask his grandkids what wellness meant. So it's a far bigger problem of of seeing something posted on a London bus or branded on social media to actually understand. And what we always like to
You're
ask is,
suggesting it's generational. You're suggesting it's
yes,
generational.
generational pipeline. I've always preached a generational pipeline because one of my mentors preached that to me. And I even feel that way in my 40s that I need to hang out, and I've been doing this, hanging out with teenagers to understand how they think. I have to hang out with them because they don't think like you and I think. And that's okay. They shouldn't. So airports have kind of created a model. It's kind of like education. I can preach on that. We've all created a model on how we educate. You can't put people in the box, especially the millennial and Gen Zers. The way they've got the money to travel, people. Yes. Airports, listen to me. These guys have the money to travel. Airports model, I'm telling you right now, and I'm just going to raise the right flag, before COVID was marketing to the Chinese because they were going to go spend the money on Chanel. They would pick people up at different airports and ship them in a private car to Harrods. They built their entire model on one thing because it was generating revenue. Oops. Can't put all your eggs in one basket. And then VAT was another way to build, we built all our model on VAT or duty free. It's not enough. Gen Zers and millennials who have cash, who actually do all the bookings for their parents because their parents don't want to deal with all the technology. That's what's happening right now. You have to sit down and listen to them. And I'm telling you, we're doing that. We're listening because I'm learning all the time. Wow, I don't really understand this generation. I better sit down and hang out with them. And I'm telling you, it's that simple. And so you've got this old guard of airport, retail and airport commercial officers have been at these airports, and they've all kind of hired. It's like a family reunion where they're all hitting on each other. You've got all these people that went from Dubai to London to Hong Kong. It's all the same people. No offense. Go hire some Gen Zers and see what happens with your social media and your branding and building trust. Because I'm telling you, the old guard isn't going to do it. You're not going to make it. In airports are going to go bankrupt.
I think it's worth at this point telling the viewers that although your business has only been trading for 18 months, it actually goes back a number of years in terms of the thought process. You touched on this earlier. And last month, your company actually went public on the Toronto Stock Exchange. I mean, that's some whirlwind trip. I mean, how are you going to invest the funds?
We basically did a reverse merger. And it was the decision to do it was a no-brainer. To be a public company and to go run our mission, it made a lot of sense because I've said before, I think our last interview months and months ago, there's never been an industry that went to zero. I mean, even fitness, still people pivoted over to online content. And so, but with the travel industry, went to zero. So the opportunity to go from zero to a 20x return in the next 18 months, 2 years is this one. In my opinion, this probably won't happen again for a very long time. So to be a public company with a liquid stock made a lot of sense to do. But the reason we did it was there was an opportunity where I'd never seen before, and it gave us the ability to be liquid, to raise cash, and do even more acquisitions. And really comes back to supporting our brands and our suppliers. We're actually making investments into some of our own suppliers. And again, going back to building trust. And then, of course, creating even more technology when it comes to health in your pocket. We'll be announcing some of our technology that has to do with taking your medical records with you when you travel, dealing with language barriers, all these really cool things that will help you have more peace of mind when you travel again. So it was just a no-brainer to do. And we're looking at probably going out and raising some more capital within the public markets over the next 18 months, which we're excited about with our new partners. So pretty cool that it's happened. Don't think if we would have ever done this if COVID hadn't happened. And funny enough, some people think that might be crazy. But again, like I said, travel is, in my opinion, is going to be a little bit dicey. We're not out of this COVID thing yet.
I want to go back to some of the values of the business and what drives the business. I mean, what are the principles that lie behind your strategy? I mean, on margins, for example.
Principles on margins. Well, I think that's a great question, because I think one of our values of our business is we weren't going to get into the advertising business. So we weren't going to charge up front to have a brand onboarded onto our platform. That's just never going to happen. We felt, and that was funny enough, a decision I was going to make before COVID. And then with COVID, there's no way I could charge a fitness studio, an onboarding fee, right. $2,000-$3,000, and then expect them that they should when they're struggling. And so when it comes to beauty brands, services, and so on, and some people, I used to hear people say if it's free, people don't respect it. But to be honest with you, if you do it right, it can be not only respected, it can be a powerful partnership and a powerful collaboration. So, our margins average between 20%, 25%, give or take. We don't gouge like competitors do when it comes to commissions. But what we want is, I like to say, the Horst Schultz model. Horst Schultz was a wonderful, wonderful man who's a hotelier in his own. I think he took over the Ritz-Carlton at 3 hotels and grew it to what it was, and then retired, started Capella. Repeat business, winning the customer over.
Just developing points you made earlier, there is some serious tech behind the business, but it's also humanized. Another point that you registered. I mean, and I know that there is a new AI-based product which you've actually recently introduced. I mean, it's beauty tech in extremis. Again, this is something the travel community could easily tap into. Just tell us more about it.
I love that we're ending with this. Yes. You asked earlier, I was kind of saving of how we can add value to the airport ecosystem. What we did is we did an acquisition joint venture with a wonderful group of people out in France, and started developing together AI technology that started out in the beauty industry, because people we're looking at, when it comes to matching you up to a salon or service, but why not matching you up to the right product based on your skin color? And so we dived into the beauty business, and it's AI tech that scans your face, either through your phone, or we have our own mirror that we'll be installing in airport lounges. We'll be installing in salons, and you could even install it within the airport ecosystem. And it helps generate revenue, because obviously the airport will take revenue off that product. It's an ancillary revenue stream because it's very cheap to install, so the onboarding cost is very small. But more importantly, it goes back to the consumer. It is an incredible consumer experience, because our skin changes every 45 days. I am not an expert on beauty. I've learned all this partnering with the beauty experts here. So I am not the beauty expert, but by any means. And then it then recommends the right product. And what's powerful for us, it recommends our brand partner products. And so it's just a really cool thing. But it also not only does a recommendation of products, we're focusing on your hair care as well as your body. So the health component to this as well, where it can scan your body. We're about to do a 3D imagery where you could actually do a workout. Could even do it in the airport lounge, where you could actually do a virtual workout or stretch. We've got content with our brands that it's their brand that's actually doing the workout, not centered, which is just really cool. So we're taking it to other levels where we do, like you said earlier, it's humanized, it's personal, but it's got pretty cool tech to scan and do it, do all the AI stuff.
I can see that's got to be of some real interest to this business community, that's for sure. Bring all the threads together. I mean, your strategy is clearly one where you want to be the go-to app for wellness products, regardless of the category that you've referred to. Your growth has been extraordinary. I mean, where do you go from here? How many members do you need or want?
We're just getting started. Again, it comes back to your questions. We want to change the airport ecosystem. We want to help airports. We can do that with clever ways that don't cost a lot of money to do ancillary revenue. But we're just getting started. For us, is we could have 200 million people using the app, and it's changing their daily lives, and we're winning. And it's just one person at a time. Our mission is to be in every single travel and wellness transaction in the world, one partnership at a time. That's our mission. And I'm proud of our team. We're doing it, one day at a time. And you have to be flexible as a business. As my story as an entrepreneur, you just got to be flexible. But we're pretty excited. I think coming out of going into the fall, I'm really excited about October through December going into the new year. I think people are already using. Oh, by the way, our app is in the app stores now. You have to have a code. And we'll be happy to share that code with you guys through Peter only when he's ready to share that. But yeah, we're just getting started. We just want to get better and better at what we do. And again, go back to changing the user journey and putting health and well-being at the center of it.
Well, I tell you, Brian, I think that centered is going to be difficult to be ignored by the business community. I mean, one final question. If there were 3 things that you wanted to advise this business community, what to do to better harness the health and wellness opportunity, what would they be?
Very good question. And it's hard to answer that because there's so many. It depends on my audience.
3 key ones would do.
I think the number one, I've said this already a couple of times in this interview, is start listening to the younger generation. And I don't just mean hiring them and check that off the list, but actually listening to them, because they probably have way more value than you could ever think, especially when it comes to the airport leadership. That's number one. And number two, executing on what they say. I think, again, the old guard needs to go away. We've seen a few airports that literally it's the same people that have been there 25 years. No offense to them, time to take your pension. What I'm talking about here is the limits on doing the same old thing and still thinking you're going to get the same result. That's the theory of chaos, right? That's not going to work in changing the travel experience. And that's the same that goes for credit card companies to big airports or even big Fortune 500 companies. It's the same principle. You've got to start realizing it's not about the age of that C-suite person that you might be bringing on. It's about how they think and taking those risks. I like that you brought that up. I think you have to take some risks. I'm about calculated risk taking. I'm not doing reckless risk, but I think you have to sit at the table and listen to people and go, okay, how can we actually come back to being a brand or an experience that's actually going to help people?
Yeah, nobody's arguing for wholesale change, but they are. But I think what's the market dictates right now is measurable change, not minuscule change. So, what's the third element that you would strike up?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit biased here. I think you need to come call me, take my phone call and listen to what Centered has for you.
I should have given you that platform.
Yeah, because the reality is it's the truth. I think we've built something that airports can plug and play right now and make revenue immediately. We know it. We can do that, but also airlines are the same way. Airlines, airports, and even bigger brands. We have a platform that can generate ancillary revenue that's never been created before, and it's something that goes back to, like we said earlier, about the brand is making it efficient and easy as possible. And again, it goes back to doing what our team's doing every day is building trust. And so for me, that definitely is my third.
A great point on which to end the interview. Brian Chappon, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.